Does your child have a favorite pair of leggings that they just absolutely love and you can't find any more of those leggings anywhere, no matter where you've looked? Maybe you wanted to sew some yourself, but you can't find a pattern that looks like your child's favorite leggings. Guys, stick with me. Today I'm going to show you how to duplicate your kid's wardrobe without needing a pattern. It's super easy. Let's jump right in. Welcome back to another video, guys. It's me, Angie, and this week we are talking all things leggings, newborn specifically. I did do a poll on my community post a few weeks ago, and I asked what kind of videos you all wanted to see, and the most votes came for baby and toddler clothing. So we're going to kick off this series, and I'll turn this into a playlist. But we're going to kick off our baby toddler series today with the easiest of them all, and that's going to be leggings. So whether you're looking for baby leggings, toddler leggings, maybe you're looking for older kid leggings, the method is all the same, guys. So stick with me. I'm going to show you how you can duplicate your kid's wardrobe. So the baby leggings that we're making today are really, really easy. You don't even need a pattern. I will link the pattern in the description that I used when I first started making leggings, because it's a very easy to follow pattern. But really, we can make these leggings in just a few short steps. So stick with me. I'll show you how to do it without a pattern, but I will also link the pattern in the description if you're more of a pattern follower. And I will load a clip towards the end. You guys are going to see I have made so many of these leggings. I don't even think I can count anymore. So they are really, really easy. They're a very quick sew. They are for beginner, intermediate, advanced, whatever stage of sewing you are, these are for you. So here's the fabric that I'm going to be working with today. You can see it's a nice like purple floral. In case you haven't seen in any kind of a theme in any of my videos, my favorite color is purple. I love it. I make things out of it whenever I can, wear it. Whatever I can do with purple, I do because it's my favorite color. Even my pen that I use to trace is purple. So this is my fabric that I'm going to use today. We're going to actually do these leggings in a yoga style waistband. We're not going to do elastic because I find with newborns and new babies, they have very sensitive skin, and I feel like they're usually a little bit more sensitive to elastic. So whenever I'm working with newborn clothes, I generally tend to do the yoga style waistband. So that's what I'm going to teach you how to do today. If you want to see a video doing elastic, of course, I can show you that as well. Just let me know in the comments and I'll do that. But this is a fabric I'm working with today. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to fold my fabric one time. So this is folded once. You see the fold is right here in my hands. And then I'm just going to take it and fold it over again so that I kind of have a double fold right along this line. And then I'm taking a pair of leggings that I've already made. You can see they're purple, but I already made these. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these in half, just like this. And then I'm going to take this straight edge and I'm going to line it up with my new fabric fold. And I'm going to take my tracing pen and I'm just going to trace right along the fabric. Now keep in mind when you're tracing this out, do not include this. This is your waistband. That's a separate piece. Don't include the cuffs at the bottom. That's a separate piece. So when you're doing your tracing, you're only going to trace the outline of, in this case, my printed fabric here and here, and then we're just going to go straight across the bottom. Okay, so let's trace that out and then we'll come back. So after tracing and cutting out, your pieces are going to look something like this. You should have two. So you're just going to take them and face them right sides together, line them up, just like so. And now you have the two pieces right sides together, and we're going to take them to the sewing machine and we're going to sew right along here and then right down to the bottom. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. You're going to sew right along the edge and then right along the edge to the bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and sew that up. Okay, so we're ready to sew it up. Now, if you're lining everything up and getting it ready to sew and you notice that one side of what will be your waistband is a little bit higher than the other side, that's okay. It's supposed to be that way, and that's because the back rise of any pants, leggings, anything like that is always higher. So you may have one side that kind of rises up higher than the other side. It's supposed to be that way, so that's totally fine. So we're going to go ahead and sew this up right along the edge here. I use about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I am using a serger. If you don't have a serger, go ahead and use a regular sewing machine. It will work just fine. You just want to use a straight stitch at about a 3.5 stitch length, or you can use a stretch stitch as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and sew up our sides. Okay, you guys can see my first side is all sewn. I just did the top portion. We're not sewing this bottom portion just yet. We're only sewing the top portion of our side. So we just did the first side. We're going to flip that over. And now we're going to go ahead and we're just going to sew the top portion of our second side, just down to where this curve is right here. That's where we're sewing. Don't do anything with this bottom part yet. Okay, so let's go ahead and sew the second side. Okay, so you guys can see I have this side sewn and I have this side sewn, just the top part. I haven't done anything with the bottom part yet. Okay, so we're about halfway there. So we're gonna go ahead and fold this, and then we're gonna get our inseam sewn up. So once we have the sides done, then we're gonna go ahead and take our leggings and we're going to open them up and we're gonna fold them like this. So the inseams that were now on the side are now on the front and back. And now we're going to line everything up, of course, and we're going to take the sewing machine and we're just going to sew right around the inseam. A little trick, as you're sewing, pull everything so that it's in a straight line. I'll show you what I mean, but it's going to be much easier for you to sew it like this than if you try to sew it on a curve. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean as I'm pulling it through my serger. Okay, so I went ahead and I lined everything up, and now I'm going to go ahead and sew it on my serger. And as I go, I'm going to take that curve that you'll see coming up right here, and I'm just going to pull it towards me so that it kind of straightens out more into a straight line. Let me sew a little further. Okay, there we go. So you should be able to see now this curve is now basically just a straight line, and I can just sew right across that. Nice and easy. Okay. So now here's where that curve is, and there's like no awkward stitching or anything like that. If you just kind of pull it in a straight line as you sew it, it makes it so much easier. All right, so our leggings are almost done, guys. All we have to do now is just add the cuffs and add the waistband. Now I'm going to do my cuffs and waistband in a coordinating color, purple, of course. But you can use the same fabric even if you want. I have some leggings where I used the printed fabric also to do the cuffs and the waistband, but sometimes I like a little bit of contrast. For the sake of this video, we're gonna go contrast. All right, so let's get our cuffs and leggings ready. Okay, so now we're ready to make our waistband and our cuffs. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and just measure. The pair of leggings that I'm making is a size 0 to 3 month for an infant. So I'm going to measure my cuff size first, and then we're going to work on the waistband. The first thing I'm going to do is take my fabric, and I'm actually going to fold it again. So I have it folded already. So the fold is right here towards me, just right here along this edge. And I am going to measure for my waistband 5 3/4 wide. And we're going to trace that on here by 4 1/4 long. Now, the great thing about you doing this on your own is with cuffs, if you want them to be a little bit longer, you can make them. I'm making mine about 4 to 4 1/4 long. If you want them to be longer, you can make them longer. If you like a different look, if you want them to be grow with me, you can double the length of your cuffs and then just roll them up. And then as the baby grows, you just unroll your cuffs. So they're grow with me leggings. So really it's great because you can personalize them any way you want to. So do your cuffs however long you want to. For the look that I have here in these leggings, these are going to be 4¼ and they're going to get folded. So keep that in mind. So the finished cuff on my 0 to 3 month leggings is going to be about 2 inches, give or take a tiny little bit, 2 1/8, something to that effect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and measure my cuffs first, and then we'll be back and we'll measure out the waistband. Okay, I have my cuffs measured out and I cut them. Now when I cut them, remember we folded the fabric, so we need 2 cuffs. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and cut right along the fold so that I have 2 equally sized cuffs. Okay, and then we're just going to put those aside, and next we're going to measure out our waistband. So I'm going to put my cuffs right over here. Now for the waistband, we're going to measure for the 0 to 3 month. I'm measuring about 7 inches long, and it's going to be 5 inches wide. Again, for the waistband, this is going to be folded, so the finished product is going to be 2½ inches wide. If you want it to be wider, if you like a wider look than this, if you want it to be taller, you can make it longer than 5 inches if you want a taller waistband. It all depends on what you want to do. For the sake of the 0 to 3 month and this video, I'm going to make mine 5 inches tall and 7 inches long. Okay. If you're doing bigger sizes, for each additional size, like say you're doing a 3 to 6 month size, add 1/4 inch. I add 1/4 inch for each size in length. So if we're cutting out the cuffs 4 inches, then you want to do 3 to 6 month size, make it 4¼ If you're going to do 6 to 9 month, make it 4½. And you get it, so on like that. So I add 1/4 inch for each size. And ideally, you want to be using stretch fabric. So even if it's a tiny bit on the small side, it's going to stretch. You're going to be totally fine. Trust me, I've done many, many, many of these. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut out the waistband, and then we'll get those attached. All right, so now we should have everything cut out. I cut out my cuffs, and I went ahead and cut along the fold. So now I have 2 cuffs, and then I cut out my waistband. Now for my waistband, this is going to be a little tip, a little trick from me to you. When we're doing the waistband, I like to, at the edge where the fold, this is the fold right here, I like to make these little notches and like cut them out on the top and bottom. Hopefully they show up on the video here. It just makes it easier for me when I'm trying to line it up. Because we're going to fold it in half. Remember, I said it was going to be folded. So when we fold it in half, it just makes it easier to line it up. If you don't do it, that's okay. I like to do it because it's just easier for me. Okay, so let's start with our cuffs. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take 1 cuff and we're going to fold it in half. You're going to fold it in half lengthwise. So here's your cuff. This is the long way. This is the short edge right here. So we're going to take the long edge and we're just going to fold it in half. So your cuff looks like this. Then we're going to take the second cuff. This is the long way, and we're just going to fold it right in half so it looks like that. Now your waistband is already folded in half. Leave it like that. Your waistband is just going to get sewn right along the short edge here, and then we're going to fold it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get these sewn together, and then we'll get them attached, and our leggings will be done. Okay, so we have our first cuff here. It's folded. We're just going to line up the edges, and we're just going to go ahead and sew right along this long edge here. Okay, and we're going to do that for both cuffs. So we'll just stick that right under the serger there, and let's go ahead and sew our cuffs. Okay, both cuffs are sewn. So we're just going to go ahead and cut off all these thread tails here, and then we're going to sew the short edge of our waistband. So I have the waistband right here. I'm just going to take the short edge, and we're just going to sew up right along there. Okay. All right, cuffs are done. Waistband sewn. So now I'm just going to cut off all these tails, and then we will go from there. Okay, so this is the waistband after sewing up this edge. So we have the sewed edge, this is the folded edge, there's those notches I was talking about. So we're just going to take this now and fold it right side out so that the seam is now on the inside. Okay, and then once we get it right side out like this, what we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half widthwise all the way around. You're just going to take the whole thing and fold it in half so that when it's finished, it's going to kind of look like this. I'm going to take my time and do this correctly. And then I usually like to hit it with an iron just to give this top edge here a nice crisp look. Okay, so just go ahead and fold this in half. If you have those notches, line those notches up just like that and just get it all lined up all the way around, and then go ahead and hit it with an iron and it's ready to be sewn. And now that we have the waistband already, we're going to work on the cuffs. And for the cuffs, I'm going to take these and I'm just going to fold these right side out as well. It's basically going to be exactly what we just did with the waistband. You're going to fold each cuff inside out. Once you get it inside out, then you're just going to fold it in half lengthwise, sorry, not width, length. Fold it in half just like this. Line everything up. You want to make sure your seams are all lined up and all that good stuff. And once you get the cuffs turned inside out so that they look like this, I'll do a better job. And just like the waistband, I'm going to take it to an iron, and I'm just going to iron around the top to give the top a nice crisp clean finish. Okay, so we're going to do this with both cuffs, turn them inside out, and then fold them in half lengthwise. Okay, so you can see I have everything all set to go. Here's my waistband, here's my two cuffs. Now we're going to sew them onto the leggings. The order in which you sew the cuffs and the waistband doesn't really matter. I always do my cuffs first just because that's the way I do it. But if you would like to sew your waistband first, that's totally fine. I'm going to take my cuff, I'm going to put it upside down so that all the raw edges are towards the bottom. And it works easiest on little items, like if you're sewing for infants, it works easiest working with little things. Just kind of put your fingers in the middle. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to I'm going to put my finger like where the seam is there. And I'm going to put it just right inside my legging here. You can see the leggings are inside out. So I'm going to stick the cuff right in there. And once I get that in there, I'm going to make sure this seam and the seam from the cuffs are all lined up. And then once I get this cuff in and get this cuff in, then we're going to take it to the sewing machine and we're just going to sew right around the outside. Sorry guys, it's really hard to be precise and try to record it at the same time. So I have to step away from the camera and kind of put that in there, and then you can see this is a finished product. So now all of my raw edges are lined up. My cuff is like right here inside my leggings. I'm going to do the same thing on the other cuff, and then once I get both cuffs in there and all lined up, then we're going to go ahead and sew it. Okay, tiny things can be difficult to sew. So one thing I just want to mention as you're sewing a cuff on, don't be afraid, first of all. Second of all, it's stretch fabric. Don't be, hopefully that's not blurry. Don't be afraid to stretch it as you go. And as I'm sewing around this edge, I always just kind of pull this back so that I can see what I'm doing over here. And I just kind of stretch it as I go. So I'm actually going to record this part sewing so that you can sort of see what I mean. Hopefully it helps. We'll just overlap that. Okay, and we're done. And so if it's the tiniest bit stretched out when you're done, it's okay, because when we turn it inside out, I'm going to hit that with some steam on the iron and it's going to look beautiful. Okay, so don't be afraid to like play with it a little bit as you are sewing it. Pull it towards you, stretch it just ever so gently, enough to make it easier for you to sew, because tiny things can be difficult to sew. All right, so that's one cuff. Let's go ahead and do the second. All right, so both of my bottom cuffs are done. They're both sewn in. You can see the purple in there. And now we're going to work on the waistband. The waistband is actually going to be the exact same as the cuff. So I'm going to take where my seam is right here, and I'm going to line that up with this seam. And these little notches that I made on the front are just going to line up with our front seam. But you do it the exact same way as you did the cuffs. You just tuck it right inside, line all of your seams up, and when you get all of your raw edges lined up, we're going to sew right around the outside. Okay, so hopefully you can see here, my seams are all lined up. This is my leggings, then here's my waistband. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew all the way around. Now your waistband is going to be a little bit smaller than the opening of your leggings. So as you sew around your waistband, you're going to want to just pull your waistband a little bit. Don't pull your legging fabric at all. I leave this down and I just kind of pull a little bit on my waistband fabric as I sew. Very, very gently, just to ease it into the opening of your leggings and give it a little bit of nice form-fitting stretch for your baby. Okay, so as I start sewing, I'm just only going to pull gently on that purple fabric to make it fit. Go around here. Get it all nice and lined up and pull ever so gently only on the purple. And we're going to do that same routine all the way around our waistband, okay? All right, and our waistband is complete. Let's go ahead and snip that right off. And you are finished. Now, the very final step is we're just going to turn everything inside out, and I'm going to hit everything with an iron, okay, just to give it that crisp, clean look. Okay, and here are your finished leggings. So you can kind of see there's a little bit of waviness here. So that's why I'm going to go ahead. I usually just kind of flatten that out and then iron it, and it gives it that really nice finish. I do the same exact thing with the waistband. And once you hit everything with an iron and make it look all nice and pretty, you are done. Well done. You guys made a pair of infant leggings. And that's it. Super easy. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I really hope that you all found it helpful. And really, you can do that with any size. If you are wanting to make yourself leggings, you have the best pair of leggings, you love them, you haven't been able to find a pattern for them or find them in stores, you can use the same method that we just did here with these infant leggings and make yourself some leggings. Obviously, I'm not going to model the 0 to 3 month infant leggings that we just did today, but I do have a shop, and this is the way I make leggings for my shop, and they are very popular. I will pop up some clips here of some of the people that have worn my leggings on their infants. I've even had some kind of famous people, some TV people that have used, that have ordered outfits for me that I've sent them. And so I'm just saying, I've done this like many, 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 many times, and it just works really well. They're really cute. It's really easy. It's a very quick sew. And it's so personal. Like, you can just make them however you want to make them. Like I mentioned, the Grow With Me, you can just do whatever you want to do with them, and it's great, and it works just so well. So yeah, so I hope you guys found it helpful, and if you decide to go ahead and try this method, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you tried it. Let me know if you plan to try it, and if you have any questions, let me know that too, and I'll make sure that I get back to your questions. Also, guys, don't forget, I'm going to link my favorite pattern designers in the comments. I do use patterns once in a while. If I am dealing with kids' clothes, I really love Lowland Kids. They make really great patterns for infants and toddlers. I also use Peekaboo Pattern Shop quite a bit for my kids' clothing. So I'm going to link actually both of those below, and my favorite pattern, my favorite leggings pattern from both of those below. If you're more of a pattern person, I totally get that. It seems like without using a pattern, there's kind of a lot of guessing. Some people do not like that aspect at all, and you want to have a pattern, great. I totally get that. And when I first started sewing, I used a pattern for everything, but I've just sort of developed my own along the way. I am not a pattern designer at all. I understand when they make patterns, there's a reason why they do it this way or that way. And I'm just kind of giving my take on, patterns that I've used in the past. So this is just kind of what I do. If you don't like that and you would prefer to have a pattern, the steps are all the same, but I'll link the pattern pieces, or I'll link the pattern below so that you guys can have actual pattern pieces to follow instead of having to measure things out. Okay? And that'll wrap up this week's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know again in the comments. Give each other some love. If you're beginning sewist, let me know. If you're intermediate, advanced, whatever you are. Guys, drop a link to your channel below. And if I'm not already subscribed, I'll subscribe. And just let me know what you all are working on and what questions you may have. Until next week, everyone, happy sewing!